But look, the problem with Saudi Arabia, new comedy festival. Let's find out about it. Mac McCusker, Shane Gillis. Oh my God.
What? Where? Why?
Saudi Arabia and UAE or Dubai.
Dubai?
I think I'm gonna pass.
Yeah. For the troops? Is it for the troops?
Not for the troops. What? For the Saudis.
For the Saudi princes?
Yeah, and everyone's like, yeah, you should do it. Everyone's doing it. It's like, for Saudis?
Yeah.
Weren't those the 9/11 guys?
So I thought.
Aren't they exactly the 9/11 guys?
All right, so if you heard the news, Saudi Arabia is currently hosting a pretty controversial comedy festival in their capital city of Riyadh, with some of the world's most famous comedians headlining the event.
I mean, they're getting a bag though, bro. I'm pretty sure they're getting a bag though, bro. They're getting like $250,000 to like $1 million per show they're doing. Depending on how big they are, but they're getting a bag, bro. And the thing is, bro, especially as a comic, I mean, some of them have already made the money, so I don't know. I mean, they may be going for like even more recognition. Imagine like, you know, they're fitting in like, cause bro, Kevin Hart is on Qatar Airways instructions. So he's like, you know, getting that Saudi money, and he knows how real that Saudi money is.
Huge names like Kevin Hart, Dave Chappelle, and even Bill Burr are being paid millions of dollars to perform there in the next few weeks. And as you might have already guessed, their fans and their fellow comedians are really hating on them for it. Since Saudi Arabia has a long record of some serious human rights violations and state-sponsored atrocities that these comedians are just gonna ignore while they perform there, I guess.
Yeah, they're just trying to get the bag
and their own lives. Like it's actually,
I mean, chat, what y'all think, bro? Just get the bag, bro. At that point, I mean, yeah, obviously you can say whatever, but like realistically, bro, like why are they supposed to be morally righteous? You know, they're getting the bag.
Legal to say some things over there, and the crime is punishable by death. Just look at Jamal Khashoggi. So it's just an overall disappointing time to be a fan of comedy right now, and other comedians realize this too. I mean, just the other day, the guy who played Gabe Lewis from The Office, Zach Woods, hilariously summed up the whole thing in a TikTok post, where he put everyone there on blast, as they're essentially selling their integrity in exchange for enormous quantities of blood-soaked cash.
Guys, it's that special time of year. It's the Riyadh Comedy Festival. And all of your favorite comedians are performing at the pleasure of Turki Al-Sheikh. And he is the head of the entertainment authority over there. And he has so many people thrown in prison because they tweeted stuff he didn't like about the soccer team or whatever, that there's a wing of a prison nicknamed after him where they hang people by their heels from the ceiling. Now, there's a lot of drips, killjoys, and rebazoids who are saying, oh, they shouldn't do comedy over there because it's whitewashing a regime that just in June killed a journalist and killed Jamal Khashoggi and played a big role in 9/11. Shut up. Name one comedian who hasn't whored themselves out to a dictator. Sinbad, in the 80s, would go perform for dying Nazis hidden out in Argentina. Mr. Bean would do private shows for Idi Amin. Me and Bibi Netanyahu have collaborated. I pitched him a prank show called The West Bank. Let's not get our, moral panties yanked up, wedged high in our rumps. Human Rights Watch has been begging the comedians not to participate in the whitewashing of the horrors that are ongoing in Saudi Arabia. Ugh, what a cockblock.
And don't think for a single second that these so-called free speech warriors...
I mean, you're getting the biggest bag, bro. This is a bag unfathomable to some people, bro. I get it. I don't know. Like, I feel like if you're a struggling comedian, they offered it to you, you might end up going, bro. I mean, like, morals aside, on
stage and suddenly turn into rebels, bravely using their sets as some kind of noble protest against the Saudi regime. Their silence has been bought, packaged, and paid for in full. They're going to keep their mouths shut, tell some pretty safe jokes, collect the check, and then fly on home. Like, there is
But that's the thing, bro. Like, that's how most businesses operate, bro. You just got to shut up and collect the check, bro. Like, I'm not gonna lie, it's like, weirdly enough, I understand it. You can't really roast them about it, No
room to deviate from that script. They're not even allowed to make hints at the ugly reality of what the government has done there. Just take a look at what happened to Tim Dillon. He got banned from the festival for something as small as mentioning Saudi slave labor on his podcast. A podcast that he records in America, mind you.
I was fired from the Riyadh Comedy Festival.
And the craziest part about that was that he wasn't even condemning the slavery. He was, in a weird Tim Dillon-y kind of way, spinning it into some dark humor that actually casts it in a positive light. But the mere fact that he let the word slavery pass through his lips was enough to get him axed without warning.
I wonder what they would do to people that are over there making jokes like that. Would they actually be like, let's go ahead and get him murked. Let's get him killed. You think people end up getting like packed up and packed off? I mean, the fucking comedians are too large. I don't think they would allow that, but they already killed Khashoggi just for the fuck of it, you know?
Slaves, then they kill hey. Get over it. Get over it. So what? So what they have slaves? So what? My friend, not a friend.
I mean, technically, all of our iPhones are made by something similar. So let's just, you know.
I don't even know. I bumped into them in Tribeca. And he goes, I would never do that because I don't want to interact with slaves. I'm like, well, why not? They'd be deferential, right? I mean, I imagine the slaves in those countries are good at what they do.
That's how extreme the censorship truly is. It doesn't matter if you say it sarcastically, ironically, or even supportively.
Sarcasm is hard to understand for a lot of people. That's the thing. A lot of people just do not understand sarcasm. Weirdly enough, it is for the intellectuals.
The regime doesn't want the word itself uttered because the word reminds people of reality, and reality is the last thing they want leaking into their carefully manufactured spectacle. So here's Tim's reaction after he got fired.
My agent called me and told me they heard what you said about them having slaves. And I said, I was being positive about it. I was defending them. He goes, well, I know that. I know you were defending them. I said, I was defending them for having slaves. I literally said, slaves are probably hard workers and, for the most part, agreeable.
They won't be disagreeable,
they didn't like that.
You know?
I was saying that slaves were proud of some of the buildings they built. Now, I am very clear about the way I will do a gig. If I accept a gig, I am not going to break the rules of the gig. So I certainly wasn't going to show up in your country and insult the people that are paying me the money. One, it's illegal. So I wasn't really planning to go to
You're going to
Saudi
get your
jail.
head chopped off.
But on my own show, in my own country, where I have the freedom to speak and say the things I want, I'm going to be funny and I'm going to be who I am. And if you're not buying that, I addressed it in a funny way and they fired me.
It's just so funny how he's acting shocked that they do something like this. Like, he can't believe that the Saudi Arabian government would do something so unbelievable and uncalled for. I mean, I know that comedians aren't the smartest people in the world, but to think that the Saudis won't micromanage every little thing you say leading up to the event is an extremely boneheaded thought. Again, they're paying them to be puppets. Like, they're not allowed to do the comedy that they've been doing for decades whatsoever. The things that Tim Dillon said that got him fired were, in fact,
I mean, bro,
nothing
people, like, want comedians to be, I feel like, these high-level, things, but if you think about it, bro, comedians are just like court gestures. If you really think about it, you know, we're low key just the court gesture. We just make people laugh. Ta-da! You know, we gotta do
but to a
goofy
government
shit.
that throws women in prison for simply taking off their abaya in public, even the tiniest joke is treated like a national security threat.
My Islamophobia and my love of bacon are completely separate things.
Not only that, you can go to Muslim countries and yell, I love bacon. There's no laws against it.
I will be doing it at the YABOIII Comedy Festival very soon. Get your tickets! Get your tickets!
Are you really going to go there?
Of course I am.
Wow.
Why would I not? Would they kill gay people and women? By the way, we said that about, we say this about every Muslim country is throwing gay people off the roof all the time, by the way, okay?
I'm pretty sure he still gets paid like if they cancel him off the show, he still gets paid for some of it. I would accept it for that reason too. I'm gonna keep doing what I do on the way to the show. If they decide to kick me off, they're still paying me, you know?
I obviously don't agree with Saudi Arabian policies on women, things like that.
Yeah.
Is it my business to tell Saudi Arabia how to live? Truly.
How big was the check?
$375,000 for one show.
Nice.
That's not bad.
That's pretty good.
That's not bad.
I'll take
$375.
that.
I'll watch a behanding for that.
Behanding?
Yeah, it's called a behanding. What happens is they cut the hand off the thief.
And I know some of you might be thinking that for the amount of money that Saudi Arabia is paying, anybody would be an idiot not to go. Which is only fair if they were being paid Cristiano Ronaldo money, okay? They're not, though. And in my opinion, they're not even being paid anywhere close to an amount that justifies going. Like on the same podcast that got Tim fired from the festival.
$375 can last me at least 5 to 10 years. Off this fucking money I make off work now, I can live off of $375 for the next 5 years, at least.
He actually mentions how much everyone was getting paid to perform there, listing figures as high as $1.6 million and as low as $150K.
You're coming out and saying you're doing the Saudi thing for money. They're paying you a lot of money. I'm not going to tell you how much they're paying me. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter how much they're paying me. $375,000 for one show. Now a lot of other people are getting $1.6 million. That's not me. I'm not in that bracket.
Damn it.
But they're giving me 370 font. Others are getting 150. Why are they doing it? Here's the point.
If this is true, and 1.6 mil
150
is
is
the highest
still
they're paying people, then this is
a
more
good
pathetic for
amount, you
comedians
know?
than I'd ever thought.
150 is still a good amount, bro.
Is a lot of money, but for the impact that this is going to have on their reputations, it's really not enough, especially for someone like Kevin Hart, whose net worth is something close to $500 million. And don't even get me started on the people who accepted the 150K. That's possibly the funniest thing to come out about this festival. Like, sure, 150K is a lot to most people on Earth, but these comedians easily clear that on tour, where, might I just add, they're allowed to say pretty much whatever they want. A guy like Theodore von Kernatowski III literally makes 150K in one night. Just take a look at one of his pay stubs that someone leaked online not too long ago. So this is just some absolute scumbaggery coming from a lot of these court jesters. It's what I'd expect from people like Andrew Schultz and Whitney Cummings, but Bill Burr honestly caught me off guard. I love the guy and was hoping he'd try and make a stand for what he believes in when he performs there, but being that Tim Dillon was fired for even mentioning slavery in his own country, I'm pretty sure Bill Burr's just gonna play it safe, which makes him no better than anyone else on the list. And him performing there just hollows out everything he preaches about on his podcast. I mean, he's even recorded himself talking smack about people who accept money from the Saudi government way back in 2011, which now that he went and performed there, just sounds like jack shit when you go back and listen to it again.
Because no one ever raises money for terrorists, right? I guess, unless you do a comedy show in, like, Saudi Arabia. Isn't that what they do? You know, that's how they raise money, with their filthy fucking oil money.
But hey, as one legend of the channel sadly fades into the background, another rises up to fill the void, as Mark Maron has been one of the comedians calling out the Riyadh disaster.
He was hating on Joe Rogan too, bro.
Like, don't get me started about the Riyadh Comedy Festival.
Oh, I think I saw that. Yeah, that looks
You
like...
think you saw it? How is it?
Oh,
not,
no, I did see that. Yeah,
it's like under the radar.
Yeah.
That all these huge acts, I can name names, but you can just go look it up. We're offered complete ridiculous amounts of the bloodiest money on the planet.
Yeah.
you know, but it's like, does it just come to that? And look, I can maintain.
He didn't get offered it. I feel like if he got offered it, he might have taken that hoe. Let's be honest. 1.5 million. That's like some people's like 5-year shows, you know?
In this position. One, I wasn't asked.
Yeah, of course. That's always with me.
Wow. Okay. Wow. Ain't that about a bitch, huh? Huh?
And I don't think I'd go. I know I wouldn't. But it's like, does history not matter at all? I mean, literally, it's like the Riyadh Comedy Festival from the guys who brought you 9/11. Do you know what I mean? It's like, is that just nostalgia?
Well, there's a Riyadh Comedy Festival. I don't know if you heard about that. This is true. There's a Riyadh, Saudi Arabia Comedy Festival. I mean, how do you even promote that? I mean, the same guy that's going to pay them is the same guy that paid that guy to bonesaw Jamal Khashoggi and put him in a fucking suitcase. But don't let that stop the yucks. It's going to be a good time. Full disclosure, I was not asked to perform at the Riyadh Comedy Festival, so it's kind of easy for me to take the high road on this one. Easy to maintain your integrity when no one's offering to buy it out, you know?
I honestly don't think that these comedians or their managers realized just how much people were going to trash them for doing this.
Imagine, like, the bag that you would take, though. Like, what's the bag that you would take to be able to do this show? If they offered you a $5 million bag, would you do it? If they're like, well, one show, I'll give you $5 million. Like, there's no way Dave Chappelle, like, got like 1.5. He got definitely more than 1.5. Kevin Hart, same thing, bro. There's no way they're giving those like just a small little bag. I mean, that's a lot, but like small bag compared to what they're probably making.
Because Bill Burr performing in Saudi Arabia is not really the same as Ronaldo playing soccer there for $700 million. Ronaldo's job requires him to kick around an inflated ball for 90 minutes straight. Bill Burr's job requires the freedom of expression, and Saudi Arabia is one of the last places on earth where that's found. I mean, the only place that I could think of that would be worse would be if somebody performed for Israel or for the US government. And yes, I'm aware that some of you may be thinking that simply performing in the States is worse than performing in Riyadh, since the government here is in fact funding a genocide. But comedians don't perform for the US government when they do comedy here. They're performing for separately owned venues. And whenever comedians do decide to perform for the US government, everyone rightfully shits on them for it. Like when Theo Von went to perform stand-up comedy for Donald Trump in Qatar. That was a really shitty thing to do. I hope I made that very clear. But anyways, at the end of the day, it's pretty simple. Taking Saudi money means selling out your voice, and no punchline in the world is worth that.
They have Shane Gillis with an American flag in that W video, bro. W video. American redact. Okay, that sound okay. Hopefully we understood that correctly. Redact, you know? Look, chat. Look, I'm gonna look for a few more good ones. How good was Michael Jackson actually? I low key want to know myself. I feel like I've seen this. I'm a big Michael Jackson head, bro. I love Michael
when
Jackson.
Michael Jackson performed, the world stopped. Stadiums overflowed. Fans fainted at the sound of his voice. Thriller alone outsold everybody. And his influence, you can hear it on every pop star who's ever touched the stage since. But Michael wasn't perfect. He's been criticized for his live singing, his bad acting, and even though it's not his fault, he's been accused of having fake songs on his posthumous albums.
August 2022. Do you think that those were actually Michael's vocals or not?
If I tell you today,
right now,
I can tell you right now that no.
Michael obviously became the king of pop, but the journey that made him one was far darker and much more complicated than most people realize. He's had to face rejection, doubt, and fight to prove himself again and again. So how good was Michael Jackson actually? In 1968, a little kid from Gary, Indiana walked into Motown Records. He outsang grown men who'd been doing this for decades. That kid was Michael Jackson. You see, the Jackson 5 weren't just another kid group. They were something else entirely. Berry Gordy, the founder of Motown, he said he'd never seen anything like it.
What was it, the first time you saw the Jackson family, when Michael Jackson came in, what were your first impressions when you saw them perform in front of you?
Well, I was floored. When I saw them perform, I was really floored.
Diana Ross introduced him to America on the Hollywood Palace in 1969. And Michael, the tiny kid with an afro bigger than his whole body, he grabbed the mic like he'd been performing for 50 years. But the part people don't always think about is, while other kids were learning multiplication tables, Michael was learning choreography. While they were playing tag at recess, he was in the studio until 3 a.m.
Actually becoming like a stage addict. I really am. Like when there are off days and there is no show, I'm up at night dancing just to sing. It's really strange. I guess I'm an addict. Can't help it.
Joe Jackson didn't believe in childhood. He believed in perfection. He got it. Through this thing right here, or if you're black, you're probably familiar with The Switch. Michael would later say he was so terrified.
Yo, you getting whipped by branches is crazy work, bro. Y'all got trauma over there, bro. Oh, wow.
Of his father that he'd vomit when he saw him coming. Now think about that. A kid so scared of his dad that he'd get physically sick. But that same kid would walk on stage and command an audience of thousands of people. By 1970, the Jackson 5 had 4 consecutive #1 hits. I Want You Back, ABC, The Love You Save, I'll Be There. No group had ever done that before. Michael was 11 years old singing about love and heartbreak in a way that would make grown women cry. But the thing is, it gets complicated because that success came with a price. Every interview, every photo shoot, Berry Gordy's team would remind him, you're not children, you're professionals. Michael couldn't make friends his own age. He couldn't go to school dances. He couldn't even hardly go outside without causing a riot. He later talked about staring out hotel windows, watching kids play in the park, just watching. Michael just wanted to be normal. The thing is, he wasn't normal. You see, he was talented, but not just talented, he was absolutely obsessed with music.
Who did you start listening to get your kind of singing style?
James Brown. I said James Brown and Sammy Davis Jr. Because I like
that. Must be sad though, bro, having no like friends. No.
What did you borrow from them?
Well, I do most of his dancing on stage. And I just like the way Sammy sings.
The music was incredible, but behind every perfect performance, there was a child who had been hit for missing a step. Behind every smile, it was a kid who didn't know what it was to just be a kid. By 1979, Michael was 21 and desperate to prove something. The Jackson 5 had left Motown and became the Jacksons. But Michael, he wanted more. He needed more.
My name is James Phillips. I'd like to know, first of all, how do you feel being up there alone, and are you gonna make appearances by yourself?
No, I'm just doing this because these are solo songs for my album, and they put them on the Jackson 5 album.
Now enter Quincy Jones, the man who worked with everyone from Frank Sinatra to Count Basie. When Quincy agreed to produce Michael's solo album, people thought it was weird. A jazz legend working with a former child star to make pop and disco music. But it was a match made in heaven. Quincy and Mike, they also worked together on the movie The Wiz, and a year later, they dropped off the wall. It was Michael announcing to the world, I'm not that little kid anymore. Don't stop till you get enough. It still gets played in movies and social events. The album went platinum 4 times over. But the part that nobody really talks about, despite selling millions and 4 top 10 singles, the album just got 2 Grammy nods and only 1 win. Michael sat in that audience watching other artists win awards he knew he deserved, and then something in him just snapped. He told his lawyer that night, my next album is gonna be the biggest album of all time. And most people would have called him crazy. A 21-year-old kid talking about he's gonna make the biggest album ever. Yeah, he was Michael Jackson, but he wasn't the king yet. Now, Michael had been competing with adults since he was 5. He knew he was talented, but he learned that talent wasn't enough. you needed to be undeniable. Now, the thing is, Off the Wall should have been enough. It revolutionized pop music, it made disco sound sophisticated, but the industry still saw him as Little Michael, still as Diana Ross's protege, just one of the Jacksons. November 29th, 1982, the day the music industry changed forever. Thriller wasn't supposed to happen the way that it did. CBS executives wanted another Off the Wall, a safe, successful, profitable album. But Michael and Quincy had other plans. They wanted to create an album where every song
This
could be a
thing is
single,
still like the classic of classics to this day, bro. I don't even know, bro. How does one simply have another Michael Jackson? You can't, bro. He's a one in a generational.
Had to be perfect. But let me tell you about MTV first, because you can't understand the impact Thriller had without understanding this. See, MTV launched in 1981 as music television. They had a very specific format, mostly rock music. They said Michael didn't fit their demographic. When Billie Jean dropped, everybody knew it was a hit, but MTV still wasn't convinced. It wasn't until the president of CBS Records, Walter Yetnikoff, he threatened to pull all of CBS's artists from their rotation until they played Michael Jackson. And once they did, Billie Jean became one of their most requested videos. It opened doors for not just Michael, but for countless artists who came after. But see, Michael wasn't done. It was Motown's 25th anniversary, and Michael was supposed to perform with his brothers. He did, but then he asked for a solo spot. He came out with his fedora, kind of like this one, black jacket, silver glove, the Billie Jean bass line started to play, and then you know what happened. But Michael still wasn't done changing history. For the Thriller video, he made it into a 14-minute short film. Cost $500,000. Before Thriller, music videos were basically film performances. They might have had some simple effects, but after Thriller, videos basically became mini movies. Artists started hiring film directors, budgets exploded, storylines. We see it today still. It all became standard because of Michael. He basically changed what it means to make a music video. Now, Thriller the album, I mean, it damn near destroyed every record that ever existed. Best-selling album of 1983, of 1984, of all time. We're talking 70 million copies, 7 singles in the top 10, 8 Grammys.
70 millies?
He's in one night, but success is complicated because now everybody wanted a piece of Michael Jackson. The Pepsi commercial that went wrong, his hair caught on fire during a pyrotechnic malfunction, that's when the painkillers started. Then he got backlash for his pop success. Black radio stations started saying he abandoned his community, and rock critics says he was too commercial. People who ignored him during Off the Wall now saying he's overexposed. And all of this was just the start of what would eventually become his Achilles heel, the media. Now, fast forward, Michael has spent 3 years preparing for a follow-up album. I mean, the pressure of following Thriller must have been crazy. I mean, imagine trying to follow up the Bible. What do you write next? Bad was the answer. 5 #1 singles from one album. The Bad Tour became the highest grossing tour in history. But there was another conversation happening. Prince. See, while Michael was breaking sales records, Prince was breaking musical boundaries. Purple Rain, Sign of the Times. Critics loved to pit them against each other.
Damn.
Michael was pop, Prince was art. Michael could dance, but Prince could play multiple instruments. Michael actually wanted to collab with Prince. He reached out for him to do a duet on Bad. But when Prince heard the song, he heard the first line, and he wasn't quite down for that.
The first line of that song is "Your butt is mine." Your butt is mine. Now I said, who gonna sing that to whom? Cause you sure ain't singing it to me. And I sure ain't singing it to you. So right there we got a problem.
So the rivalry, it wasn't real. Not really. They respected each other. But the media always needs a story. And unfortunately, Michael became a prime target for that. The media discovered they could sell more magazines by calling him Wacko Jacko than by celebrating his music. Every weird thing he did became a headline. He bought a chimp, front page news. He slept in a hyperbaric chamber? He didn't, but who cares about the truth? Headlines for weeks. And then,
bro, that would be crazy, bro, if you like, if you get so baked and you don't remember what you did yesterday, but tabloids are telling a whole different, another lie. You were like, oh yeah, I caught Michael Jackson in fucking Japan. And he's like, he wakes up, he's like, was that in Japan yesterday, bro? Like, motherfuckers just straight up lying on him. And he's like, bro, did I do that? I don't remember.
Yeah.
I have a skin disorder that destroys the pigmentation of the skin. It's something that I cannot help. Okay, but when people make up stories that I don't want to be who I am, it hurts me.
Michael had developed vitiligo, a disease that destroys skin pigmentation. It was something that defined him in both positive and negative ways. But instead of compassion, he got mockery. By the time the Dangerous album came out, Michael was pushing boundaries again. New Jack Swing with Teddy Riley, Industrial Sounds, Black or White became the most watched television event of 1991. But the Wacko Jacko stories, they just kept coming. He was buying an Elephant Man's bones. He was sleeping in an oxygen tank. The stories got more and more ridiculous. But some people started to believe him. I mean, at the very least, it started to shape his image. The irony is, while some people were calling him a freak, he was still revolutionizing music. The choreography he created during this era, I mean, it's still copied today. Watch any K-pop group. That's Michael. But see, Michael, he made one critical mistake. See, Michael was nice and trusting, but a little too trusting. See, Michael had his own theme park, and he would let kids and their families come stay with him. You know, everything was cool. He never had a childhood, so he wanted to do that. But in 1993, everything came crashing down. In August of 1993, Michael Jackson was accused of, let's just say, doing not so nice things to children. Now, this has been a sore subject around Michael Jackson for a long time, but we gotta talk about what it did to him. Because whether you believe he was innocent or guilty, what happened next was basically a public execution. The accusation came during the Dangerous tour. Michael was performing at sold-out stadiums when police raided his home. Media coverage was relentless. I mean, it was so bad he had to cancel the tour. He became dependent on painkillers just to function. The case was eventually settled outside of court, but I mean, the damage was permanent. Next thing you know, the History album drops. It was half greatest hits and half new material. And the new songs, they were angrier, more defiant. They Don't Care About Us, Scream, Stranger in Moscow. This wasn't the same Michael who sang The Way You Make Me Feel. This was somebody who was...
Bro, it looks like he trans, bro. Michael trans in the middle
of course, it's Michael, so the album and the tour was still successful. But you could tell there was something broken that just couldn't really be fixed. The allegations came back in 2003. Then came the trial. He was acquitted on all charges, but acquittal doesn't necessarily mean vindication in the public eye. By this point, Michael proved himself to be one of the greats, but he is still not topped the success of Thriller, and his career was starting to go on the decline. So he wanted to try to top himself one more time, but he had another demon to battle with, Sony Music Entertainment. In 2001, Michael dropped Invincible, his last studio album. Sony barely promoted it. They were in a war with Michael over masters and money, but it still debuted at #1 and still went double platinum. It was a failure for Michael Jackson, but it was still a success that most artists would kill for. The machine was breaking down, and the debts were mounting up. It wasn't because he wasn't making money. I mean, Michael had lots of assets, but the lawsuits never stopped coming and everything just seemed like it was closing in on him. So Michael wanted one last hurrah. In 2009, he announced the This Is It tour. 50 concerts at London's O2 Arena, sold out in hours. He was 50 years old, rehearsing like he was 25. The footage from the rehearsals, I mean, he was still magical. Still had that thing that made him different from everyone else. But he was also fragile. He couldn't sleep without meds, and he barely weighed 130 pounds. And on June 25th, 2009, the King of Pop was pronounced dead at UCLA Medical Center.
According to the Los Angeles Times, pop star Michael Jackson died this afternoon.
Both the Los Angeles Times and CBS News are both now reporting that Michael Jackson has died.
His death was devastating, and according to some, it's still a mystery. But on the bright side, his legacy is still felt, not just by music people, but all of us. So how good was Michael Jackson actually? I mean, the numbers are untouchable. Over 1 billion records sold, 13 Grammy wins, 39 Guinness World Records. Thriller alone has sold more than most artists' entire careers combined. But numbers, they don't quite capture it. Not really. Watch Beyonce perform. That's Michael. Watch Bruno Mars, Michael, The Weeknd, Justin Timberlake, Usher, Chris Brown, all of them. I mean, they're all trying to copy what he had. Even the K-pop groups, BTS, they're walking through doors that Michael opened. He changed what it meant to be a pop star. Before Michael, pop stars, they sang songs, but after, I mean, they created whole worlds around their albums in different eras. Music videos weren't just promotional tools, they became art. He changed the game for concerts. I mean, he even changed the whole landscape of MTV. A black kid from Gary, Indiana became the biggest star on the planet. He made music that transcended language, race, culture, everything. Was he perfect?
He was the first artist.
I mean, he didn't play instruments as good as Prince, and on his live shows, his voice got strained, and he didn't sound as good as the record. Michael's impact was way bigger than music. Michael Jackson had his childhood stolen, had his appearance mocked, his reputation destroyed.
Yeah, damn, what happened to his nose?
He never got that comeback. Never got that final victory lap where the world just celebrated him. But maybe that's what makes his greatness even more remarkable. He never stopped trying to give everything he had to heal the world through his music.
At your concerts, there are hundreds of people in the audience yelling, "Michael, Michael!" What do you feel like?
When they're all holding hands and everybody's rocking and all colors of people are there, all races, and it's the most wonderful thing.
Now, Michael was so good that 15 years later after his death, pop stars are still chasing what he achieved. I have a video about how every modern artist,
W video, yes sir.